Welcome back to the O Hockey Show. Right now, I'm going to talk to you all about the games coming up in a couple of hours here. So, let's get into the second night of NHL action. So, let's start off with the game. Well, I guess a few of them are happening at 4 my time. So, whatever you want to say. The game that's first on the list here is the Bruins versus the Capitals. Now, yes, make fun of all of my logos down below. I think they're fun to make. Anyways, so the Bruins versus the Capitals. So the first thing I want to talk about for the Bruins is that for their first game coming into it, they're missing Marchand, they're missing Charlie McAvoy. So they're missing their top defensive piece, and I would say their most important. I would say their most important forward piece as well. I mean, I made a whole video about it between Pasternak, you could say Taylor Hall, but I would say Marchand is probably their most dangerous weapon out there. So for me, they're missing their two most important pieces of the puzzle here, and which is a huge thing. But what's more important, sure, first game of the season, who cares, right? You want to start off on the right foot, but at the same time, who cares? If you lose one game at the beginning, especially with your injured players, it's not a big deal. But I want to talk about guys like Bergeron and Krejci especially. What are these guys that they're bringing in this season? How are they going to perform for them? It's awesome what they were able to do this offseason, keeping around Bergeron and bringing back Krejci. I want to see how those two guys play. Because for me, Bergeron is old. And not like super old, but he's up there. Krejci's coming back to the NHL. How are those two guys going to play? If they lose this game because of lack of star power, who cares? Whatever. You can get past that. But I want to see how the guys that they're bringing in are going to perform, and if it was worth keeping them around instead of trying to go after younger, better pieces. So that's something to talk about. And then for the Capitals, they're missing, of course, Backstrom, Hagelin, Tom Wilson. They're missing a lot of top guys. But they brought in some guys. They brought in Strome. They brought Connor Brown. I was going to call him Bonner. They brought in a few guys to really fill in the lineup there, especially with those guys' absence for most of the season, or at least a chunk of it. So they're bringing them. How are they going to play? I think Strome played well in the preseason, but I think that the Capitals did amazing job this offseason bringing in those guys, and as well as Darcy Kemper. How is he going to play? Kemp's on the Caps. Perfect situation there. I think it was the best move that the Capitals made in a long time in off-season. Yeah. And I think that was a great move by them. And, of course, of Alex Ovechkin, how does he play? I guess for the same thing, Pasternak, their goal scorer. How does he get signed soon? So, for this game, I think it's more important for the Capitals to win, because the Bruins, if they lose, it's like, okay, we're missing some guys. But the Capitals, because of that, need to win this game. And for me, I would say I think the Capitals are going to come out with the win. I think they're going to win 3-1 this game. Next, you got the Columbus Blue Jackets versus the Carolina Hurricanes. If you could tell, that's not just a black and red yin and yang sign. So for the Columbus Blue Jackets, of course, bringing in Johnny Hockey. How is he going to work? I keep saying, I think it's the best move of any team in the offseason. This Blue Jackets team, they're great defensively. They have a great goaltending tandem and primary goalie. They got it all, but they needed something, and they finally bring in that spark. They had all the gunpowder. They just needed that spark, and Gaudreau is going to light everything up. I keep saying it. Gaudreau is going to be a perfect fit on this team. I can't wait to see how well this team does during the offseason. But against the Columbus Hurricanes, the Carolina Hurricanes, I don't know. Because Carolina, they bring in Brent Burns, and they are already stacked. For me, I think they didn't really do much to improve or unimprove this offseason. They bring in Brent Burns, which I think is an improvement. So, I don't know. For me, I think this is a team like the San Jose Sharks, where Burns came from when they were in their prime all those years. It's like there's no really need to improve this team. Sure, you can add like Ovechkin or something and make it better, but this team is already good. You just got to win now. And they bring in Brent Burns, which is an amazing piece, I think, for their defense. So it's interesting. I think they've gotten better, and now they just need to prove that they're better and go win the Stanley Cup now. Between these two, I think Johnny Hockey is going to have a spark in him. I think the whole Blue Jacket squad has a fire in them because of this signing that I think this game is going to be the tightest one out of anyone on this list here, and I think this one's going to go. I think this is going to be a close one all the way into the third period towards the end, or goes into overtime. I think it's a close one towards the end, and I think the winner of it all is going to be Carolina. Carolina's at home. I think they'll have that little edge in them, and I think Carolina's going to win it late. It's going to be close. It'll be like 3-2, 4-3, and it'll be right at the end of the game or overtime. So now we got Toronto and the Canadiens, Montreal, no, whatever. And for me, questioning is obviously for Toronto, goaltending. Did their goaltending, I mean, it obviously didn't improve from Campbell, but with Dubas's idea here of bringing in Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov, is that going to be the move to make? I think it's a great gamble. I think it's a great risk because for me, and I know this doesn't really matter, but in my NHL playthroughs, it's like if you have a great team all around, then you don't really need a great goaltender. You just need a guy like Logan Thompson on the Golden Knights. You just need a guy that's going to hold down your team and not just let everything in. Just a pretty, standard guy. Just a standard goaltender, nothing special. He's not going to win you any games. He just go back there and your team does the work. And I think this is a great gamble, especially since both of these guys have a chip on their shoulder wanting to really prove themselves. So I think that's also a great move, is that it could have been anyone. They could have brought in any random goaltender, but they bring in two guys with a chip on their shoulder trying to prove themselves, and they have a good team in front of them to do that. So the question is, does it work out, or should they have done something like bring in Cam Talbot or like a Jonathan Quick, who I know gets paid too much and it probably wouldn't have worked. But that's just a question I have for them. And, of course, for the Canadiens, they're going to lose this game. I mean, maybe. But what about the young guys? Do Caulfield and Suzuki, well, not Suzuki, Caulfield, I think he's really underrated. People gave him way too much crap last season. So, does he score a goal this game? Juraj Slavkovsky, I think he made the lineup. I hope he did. How does he play in the NHL? I can't wait to see that. So, just for the Canadiens, what are the young guys going to do? This team's not going to win anything, but how are the young guys, how are the guys that are going to be the future going to play? And that's really it. So between those two, I think that Toronto wins probably 4-1 as well. Now we got Chicago and the Avalanche. Now, I don't know if you can see my Blackhawk very well, but I did my best to not be get people mad at me. I think it's actually pretty cool what I did. But anyways, for the Blackhawks, they're tanking, right? But my question is, how bad is it gonna be? Because I know I saw that Kane really wants to stay in Chicago and break all their records, if that's even true. Maybe that isn't true, but whatever. But I mean, he's been there for so long, and it's the last year of his contract. I would want to stay there as well if it's gonna be my last time to really try to prove myself as the best ever. And I feel like maybe this game is a make or break for him. He probably knows they're not going to make the playoffs. But, what if, this game they lose 10-1? Maybe he's I can't do this for my last season. I score a goal and I can't, So maybe this is more of a question of, how bad is it going to be? Will Jonathan Toews and Kane, demand a trade to get out of there? That's kind of my question there. So maybe this is a make or break deal for Kane. And then for the Avalanche, of course, my question for them is their one-hit wonders from last year. They're guys that they pay these young guys that only had one good season. I mean, I know I said Kadri only has one good season. I don't really think he's that great of a player. But at the same time, he's at least an established NHL player that's been around for a while getting 40 points. Valeri Nichushkin, Arturi Lehkonen, they were on the best team in the world last year. To me, this team, I've never seen a team like the Avalanche absolutely dominate another squad before, and that's what the Avs did night in, night out, every single game of the playoffs, of all things. So, they pay these young guys coming up instead of Kadri, and my question is, how do they pay off? And do guys like Newhook and guys like Byram on a contract year, how are they going to play? And it's an interesting question. So how do Janchushkin, how do Josh Manson, how do Arturi Lehkonen, Bowen Byram, and Newhook, how are these guys playing on their first year and their deals coming up? That's a question to me. I think the Avs are going to win this one, of course. Now, I actually see this one either being like a 2-1 game or it's like 7-2. It's either going to be surprisingly close or it's going to be a blowout. That's how I see it. I don't see this being like 4-1. This isn't going to be 4-1 or 5-1. This is going to be like 7-8 or 2 or 2-1. That's how I'm going to see this one. Chicago doesn't win regardless. And then we got Seattle versus Anaheim. So, these two teams are two teams that have some young guys now on them. Beniers and Wright, Zegras on the other one, and Drysdale. They got some really good young guys in the lineup. And this offseason, they did a really good job of really bringing in the guys during the offseason. The Ducks bringing in Klingberg, Strome, Vetrano. They brought in a lot of good guys I think they did a great job of. And the Ducks are really improved this year. And I don't know if I personally think they could potentially try for a playoff spot. I guess maybe that's the question for me. And then also for Seattle, the same thing goes. Kind of two teams in the same predicament where they had a bad squad last year with some bright spots in them, and both of them added things and have young guys in the lineup now. How are they going to play? How do guys like Shane Wright? How do players like Beniers, who looked fantastic in his debut in his little stint last year? How do Borkstrand and Burakovsky play? So these two teams, I feel like, is going to be the most exciting game of the night. This is going to be the most exciting one here, and I think this is going to be the closest one. And, yeah, so for that, it's interesting to me. I think this is going to be the fastest-paced game of the night, and I think Anaheim's going to come with the win. I think Anaheim's going to win it 4-2. 4-2 for Anaheim. And then we got the last game of the night. Of course, we got the Kings team, Connor McDavid, and also we got Vancouver Canucks. So, this one is, so for Vancouver, I don't really know what the question is, because they didn't do much to change the team at all from last season, even though they needed some sort of help. And I know they almost made the playoffs, and underneath their new coach, they're an amazing team, bringing in Bruce Boudreau. But do they, I don't know. The only real addition they made is bringing in that Kuzmenko guy. So, I mean, I guess, how does he play? So, is this team a winning team from a full year with Boudreau, or was that just a crazy coincidence last year? So, I don't really know. It's like, it's the same thing from last year. Let's see what happens. And for the Oilers, of course, they bring in Jack Campbell, and I think is the perfect thing they needed. They needed a goaltender, but I don't know if Campbell's going to be, I like the idea here. The Oilers, I mean, there's not much to talk about. Nothing's changed for them except they bring in Campbell, Evander Kane the entire year. How is he going to play for a whole season with the Oilers? Jack Campbell in the net, is that going to be the answer that the Oilers needed for their bad defense? I mean, how does the defense play? So the Oilers, kind of the same questions that have always been around. Is Jack Campbell, for me, he'd go either way. He could play like he did in the playoffs, or he could play like he did, or he could play like a Mike Smith. So for me, it's like Jack Campbell's an interesting risk as well. So a few decent questions for them. I think the Oilers are going to win this one, and I'll say 5-4. Let's go with crazy number 5-4. So that's what I have to say about this little previews before the games tonight on October 12th. So please, if you like this video, please pick up your free subscription by hitting that red subscribe button. If you like this video, leave a like, not a dislike, but go down below to the comment section and tell me how stupid my art is. Tell me all that down below, how stupid my hair is. Tell me all that down below, and until next time, I've been your nicely dressed host, Owen. Too sweet. I hope you're having an amazing day today. If you're not, put a smile on, or at least try. Sing a song. Sing My Way by Frank Sinatra. So do all of that, and until next time, have a fun, I don't know, ta-ta for now.